pediatrics and binocular vision, and it was a great experience. I learned a lot of ocular disease. We didn't have a pediatric residency program at SUNY at that point. We just had a vision therapy residency program, and I learned a huge amount there. I know a lot of the other doctors talked about making contacts. I think it's hugely important, no matter where you go, to make contacts. I did meet doctors when I was at PCO, and I ended up working in a practice for a bunch of years after I graduated from my residency program with one of the doctors who I met there. I worked in a suburban town, a suburban upper middle class community in southern New Jersey. I did pediatrics in the practice. I ran the contact lens part of the practice. I was given a lot of freedom in the practice to practice the way I wanted to practice. As far as building a practice, I went out and I lectured, I did screenings. The doctor who I worked for Dr. Andy Bazzelli, if anybody knows who he is, and he taught at the college at the time. He taught at the Pennsylvania College of Optometry. He gave me a lot of advice when I was there. He always said it takes 5 years to build a practice within somebody else's practice, and it takes at least 8 to 10 years to build a practice if you go out on your own. And that's really been good advice, because I've talked to a lot of doctors who get out into practice and they want instantaneous patients to walk through their door, and they think as soon as they sign up with an insurance company that they're going to have a big influx of patients. And I have to say, after being in a lot of practices, that you do have to work for it. And you have to build your name, and you have to build security within the practice, and you have to go out and really put yourself out there. And every practice that I've been in, there's been different ways of doing that. When I was at that practice, I actually also taught at Pennsylvania College of Optometry in the pediatric department. And that was a great experience. I was an independent consultant there. They work their part-time practitioners a little bit differently than at SUNY. And I ended up, after about a year and a half, 2 years of teaching at Pennsylvania College of Optometry, I ended up moving over to SUNY and coming back, as I say, home. And again, it was a great experience. I worked in an external clinic at SUNY. I taught in the pediatric department on Fridays, and it really felt like I came home at that point. I loved PCO, but SUNY was always my home school. At that time, some things in my life changed, and I wasn't living down in South Jersey anymore, and I moved up toward the North Jersey area, and I started practicing with Dr. Andrea Thaw. We had met, I would say, probably 3 weeks into my first year of optometry school, and as a student, I worked in her office for almost my entire time. She was halfway between my apartment and the school. She was on 34th and Park at the time, and my apartment was on 34th and 1st, and that was when the college was in the old location. And I worked with her as a student. It was a great, great, great experience. And I came back again. I felt like I kind of came back home. I started working in her practice in, I would say, 1995. And at that time, I also worked there part-time, because again, it takes time to build up a practice. It really does. I also started working for another practitioner in Queens, in a lower middle-class community in Queens. That was a great experience for me. I was in a midtown Manhattan Park Avenue practice 2 days a week. 2 days a week I was in a very lower middle-class community in Queens, and 2 days a week I was at the college. You couldn't have gotten a more well-rounded view of optometry than that. I dealt with I always worked with pediatrics, always worked in a primary care practice, and I had to deal with parents from all different areas, all different locations, all different means, and it was very, very, very interesting. You learn a lot, you really do. I mean, the parents that you deal with in a lower middle class community are very, very, very different than the parents that you deal with in an upper middle class suburban community versus an urban population of parents who have more money than you can even imagine. But it was great, and you realize how many people out there really need your help. It doesn't matter what modality you're coming from. You just realize how many people really need your help. The one thing I have to say throughout my career is that I did two things. I was always a member of the Student Association with NYSOA when I was in school. It wasn't a question. You just did it, just like you guys are members of the Student Association. But I never thought that that was an option to not be a member of an association when I graduated. You have to do that. That's what you do. You support your profession. Because if we don't support our professions, who does everybody expect to support the profession? I was a member of the NYSOA when I graduated for a bunch of years when I was in New Jersey, and then when I started practicing in New York, what do? You join the NYSOA. And at the time, I think it was when Frank Pirazzolla was actually president, or maybe it was right when Mitch was president of Asconi, and they were looking for a treasurer, and I was immediately elected as treasurer the day I joined. And that's the beauty of working with Andrea. I was treasurer for a bunch of years and kind of moved up in the ranks, and now, as some of you know, have been the never-ending president of Asconi. It has been great. Practicing in a profession, I can't even express to you, that's what you do, is you join your society, you pay dues, and you support your society. You couldn't do anything that you're going to do in your future unless we did that for you, and you're going to do that for other students as they come down the line. The other thing that I have to say, there are three major things that I need to tell you guys as incoming optometrists. The first thing I have to say is don't ever compromise your integrity. Work the way you need to work and the way you want to work. Whether it's in a storefront setting, whether it's working for an ophthalmologist or it's working for another optometrist. Work the way you feel. Learn from everybody who you work from, but never compromise what you think is right versus what you think is wrong. If you're not happy with the way somebody tells you to practice, get out of the situation. Because you have to practice to your best ability. And if you can't do that within the practice, I just mentioned Tara, now she's walking in. If you can't do that in the practice that you're in, that's not the right place for you. Because I have seen doctors and I've heard doctors complain that other doctors predict how they practice or they tell you how to practice, and that's not the way you want to be. You want to work the way you want to work. The second thing is be happy with the choices that you make. I love what I do. It's projected in everything that I do all day long. Patients walk into our office and they feel the warmth. They feel, I hug my patients. Some of them call me Dr. Reinstein. Some of them call me Dr. Fran, the little ones. Some of them just call me Fran. I have patients who have known me for years and years. They're my friends. They're almost like family. My patients have a problem. I call them. Half my patients have my cell phone number. I don't care. Nobody ever abuses it. If they need me, I want to be there for them. And you know what? I'm in a Park Avenue Midtown practice. They don't get the warmth from other doctors that they get from us, and I hear that every single solitary day. Love what you do. Because if you don't love what you do, you're not going to love what you do in your whole life. The third thing I say is, again, you need to support your association, support your profession. We're doing that for you now. We're trying to advance your profession for you so that you can come into the profession and practice at the highest level that you can. You have to carry that forward and continue that for the people who are behind you and for the people who are practicing now. I've gone through a lot of different modes of practice, and it's all been great. I can't say that any experience I've had with an optometry has been a negative one. I loved all of my externships, loved my residency. I have never, ever had a bad experience within a practice. I've always stayed in practices for a long time. I'm in my private practice now with Dr. Thaw for 17 years. We've been friends for longer than that, like I said. And it's just so important to just really, really love what you do and to enjoy optometry, because there's a lot out there to enjoy. And I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. If you ever have any questions aside from just today, please feel free. I am in Manhattan. Feel free to stop by our practice, give us a call, and we can show you around and answer any questions.
This is going to make a horrible noise when I do this. I apologize. Oh, it didn't actually. Nice and quiet. So welcome everybody, and thank you for being here. My name is Dr. Ted Bryant. I graduated from PCO a decade ago, which is very scary. I remember when I was on my externships as a fourth year, I looked at doctors who had been out of school for 10 years, and I thought, boy, they are experienced and wise, and now here I am. I don't feel very experienced or wise, but I guess I am. I practice in Binghamton, New York, just outside of Binghamton.